The nation is observing the Republic Day. The troops salute the president salutes the government, who will salute the public on the Republic Day. So, I don't read poems very much, though it doesn't mean that I don't like poetry. I love it, but it's just that I don't read it very often. But it feels great when the first poetry collection you read makes you fall in love with poetry again in a different way. Also, I really like the cover of this book, as you can see. A plant safe in the palm of a hand, which really kind of showcase the themes of many of the poems given in the book. So, firstly, let me tell you, this is not your typical poem book which will only talk about emotions like love, sadness, hope, grief. Yeah, it does talk about them, but not only them. The topics which this book covers are very varied. Like, it has got motivational poems like the lines, failures are just footprints on dust. They show us the path that tread one must. From the first poem titled Dream One Must. Then it has also got funny satirical poems, among which there was one titled Cast My Foot. And then it has also got many thought provoking poems, among which my favorite was the poem titled The Poetry of Mundane Things, in which the poet asks a beautiful question where he says that does beauty not lie in the things that die? Then it has also got poems about Indian culture and traditions. Then it has also got poems about different cities of India and of different countries. Like there was a poem titled Vagrant Varanasi, in which the poet describes the atmosphere of Varanasi very beautifully. And then it has also got various poems about Indian traditions and cultures, and obviously about love, life, and other human emotions and elements. Like a poem titled My Father's Coat, a beautiful poem, then A Life to Live, and many other emotional, beautiful poems in there. But as I said before, these poems aren't usually the one we typically find on the internet. These poems are mature, though they are simple and easy. These poems are still deep, thematic, and layered. But what I found interesting in this poetry collection is the poet doesn't really care much about the genre. Like, there is not a common thread even between two consecutive poems. Like, the first poem you would be reading about will be about motivation, and then in the second, the poet will be expressing his grief, and then in the third, he will be describing the nature, and suddenly on the fourth, he will be doing a satire. So, there is no common thread joining any poems. And then in some of the poems he kind of romanticizes his grief, which I really liked. And then again, in some of the poems you will be just left with a question mark if you read it. Very beautiful, thought-provoking questions. And when the poet is describing some scene or some country or a city, his word selection is so easy and yet so effective that you really feel that you are with him at the time. And in each of the various genres the poet writes, there is not a single genre where you can find or where you can say that no, this is not the genre for this poet. Each and every genre the poet does justice to it. And really, that's a very difficult thing if you ask me. And then, lastly, which is a feature every poem has, is you will be interpreting it differently every time you read it again. And so, in the end, when you will finish reading this poetry collection, you will be left with a feel good type feeling. I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm making any sense right now, but this book really expanded my horizon and made me think beyond human emotions and other common themes in poetry. The book is available on the Amazon and it's published by Writers Cram Publications, and I will add the link in the description box too. Please, guys, do check it out.